A new year and steep new fees from your homeowners association.
It goes from $346 a month to $621.50.
That's astonishing.
That's a lot.
Tonight, Steve on your side finds out what's causing the massive jump.
I have had the pleasure of living my dream. The only job I ever wanted was to be a police officer.
Denver's first black police chief is going down in history. Chief White is being honored at a special ceremony.
The state of Colorado proposing new rules for psychedelic therapy. Today we're getting an exclusive look inside the process and what new licenses mean for the industry.
You might want to rethink certain sunglasses while driving. A crash is inspiring a woman in Georgia to change the eyewear industry.
And we continue to watch the first moon landing in 5 decades. Of course, it does have a Colorado connection. 4 o'clock at 9 News starts now.
We begin at 4 o'clock with breaking news. News of a deadly crash. Colorado State Patrol says this happened in Larimer County and 3 people were killed. It happened around 2:45 on Highway 287, just north of Livermore, near the Wyoming border. Troopers say 287 is blocked. CSP says the 3 people involved were 18, 19, and 21 years old. Again, Highway 287. 2 other people also hurt. At this time, it's unclear how many cars were involved and if the 3 that were killed were in the same car. We're working to gain more information on this, and we'll bring it to you on air and online when we know more about this deadly accident. The only Aurora police officer found guilty in the death of Elijah McClain is appealing his conviction.
Randy Rodema expected to begin serving his 14-month jail sentence a month from today. An Adams County jury found him guilty of criminally negligent homicide and third-degree assault. Rodema, one of 3 police officers who stopped and restrained McClain. After a neck hold, McClain suffered serious medical issues and was then injected with ketamine. His heart stopped and he died 3 days later. Rodema's appeal lists a number of issues, including a judge's decision to try him alongside of another officer, Jason Rosenblatt. The 2 paramedics who injected McClain with the sedative were both found guilty. Sentencing for one of them is in March. The other one is set for April. Well, if you live in a condo or a townhome, chances are you got a letter from your HOA recently. It might have made your jaw drop. Steve on your side has heard from many condo owners, and they've seen hundreds of dollars in increases to their monthly HOA dues. Others have seen special assessments, some in the tens of thousands of dollars.
It's a lot, and it's a shocker. The culprit, mainly insurance. Premiums for HOA policies skyrocketed this year with no signs of going down. Again, consumer investigator Steve Steger is joining us. And Steve, you've heard from a lot of homeowners really ticked off and HOA boards that say, well, what can we do?
Yeah, it's going to make for some really interesting meetings of these boards. Several people who work with HOAs have called this a crisis point. Townhomes and condos tend to be the place where a lot of first-time home buyers land and where a lot of senior citizens on fixed incomes land. But now they're seeing monthly dues making affordable options absolutely unaffordable.
The budget proposed by the executive board.
The letter Rosalie Hayes got sounds boring till you get to that one part, the part that lays out the increase in her monthly association dues.
It goes from $346 a month to $621.50.
That's astonishing.
That's a lot.
Starting in April, her dues are going up nearly $300 a month.
When I opened this letter, it was just like, you could have knocked me over with a feather. It was a shock.
The reason?
The insurance has gone up over $100,000.
The premium to insure the Sequoia Condominium Association in Arvada actually went up $140,000, more than double what it was last year.
It's been so rough.
Down the road in Wheat Ridge, Becky Blackett says the increase in Brookside Townhomes policy beat that.
How much did insurance go up this year?
Over 220%.
The president of the association board, she says she'll have to raise dues and ask for a one-time special assessment.
Folks just didn't budget for that when they bought the places.
It's an affordability crisis. People can't afford this.
Molly Foley-Healy is an HOA attorney.
In the last 17 years in Colorado, I can say without hesitation, this is the biggest crisis to hit HOAs.
She says condo associations are stuck as insurance carriers get out of the HOA business.
It's not only difficult to get policies, but what's more difficult is to get an affordable property insurance policy for the components of the HOA.
Anytime you have fewer insurance companies, there's less competition. That also is going to drive prices and availability.
Carol Walker represents insurance companies and says it's a complex issue fueled by wildfire risk, loss from hail claims, and other liability risks that come with an HOA. And these policies haven't been profitable.
And we've seen that multi-peril commercial, which is HOA insurance, at a 23% loss.
Insurance companies are now working with state lawmakers to try to figure out how to solve this problem through a study.
It's a real problem, and I don't know how to solve it.
But that will take time,
I'm just not sure what to do because, like I said, we have to have an insurance policy.
all while homeowners pay the bill and make some tough choices.
I'm not sure whether I can afford to stay in Colorado, is what it comes down to. Colorado is pricing a lot of people out.
A bill just passed out of committee in the State House to study the market and then report back on January 1st, 2026. Yikes. That is a while away. I want to hear how much your dues are going up, by the way. Steve on your side at 9news.com. It's a complex issue, and everybody involved says you need to study it. Now, Molly, the attorney there, says maybe not take until 2026. Like, you got to do something relatively quickly to try to get these rates down. But they're afraid of making an adjustment that might impact the market in a different way that'll really hurt.
Yeah, the always popular HOA taking another hit here, but they're really in between.
You know, and it's interesting because you have homeowners who are so upset at their HOA board, right? Because they think the HOA board is responsible for this cost. You talk to the folks on the board and they say, we have no choice.
Yeah.
We're going out to the market to try to find an insurance policy, and we can't find anything that isn't $200 or 200% more than what the previous year.
I think long term it's going to impact home sales too, because it is a starter house for many people. And the first thing you're going to ask is, what's the HOA fees?
How much are the dues?
And it's like, wait, I can't do this.
Yeah, that's going to impact a lot of property values and just affordability for folks in general.
Yeah.
The cost of living indoors
Yep.
is going through the roof. Stay on it. Thank you. Appreciate it, Steve. Of course, snow squalls were hitting across the state today. We saw some brief, heavy snow bursts in different places. These the scenes in Fort Collins this morning, and others woke up to some sunshine.
Yeah, it really has been different everywhere you look, Kathy. I mean, it was cloudy and icky at my house by the time I got to Denver, rather. I'm thinking of dinner. Sunny.
You and
Sunny.
me both. Yes, as a matter of fact, I came from the South Metro and we had partly cloudy skies, mostly sunny skies, didn't have any of the rain and snow, but areas up north and areas north and west experienced slushy rain and snow showers. It didn't last very long, but certainly impactful for some of the drive this morning, but we're not seeing that this evening. As a matter of fact, a lot of folks probably hitting the slopes early tomorrow morning to get into some of that fresh powder, and travel conditions will be much improved tonight and tomorrow. 42 in Denver. It's been a cooler day for sure, and the winds thankfully are starting to come down a little bit, but it's a northerly wind, and that's why you're kind of feeling that cool down. The next system is way off in the wings. We've got high pressure setting up over the area. Our system is moving out quickly. Scattered rain and snow showers are ending from north to south. A few leftover rain showers in Fort Morgan. Still a few snow showers reported in Estes Park and areas west of Fort Collins, but we should be really done with this over the next couple of hours. We're going to clear out, get kind of a cold night coming up, and then a beautiful Friday. The weekend temperatures look tremendous as well. This is all something we're going to cover in our main weather segment in just a few minutes. But for once, a fabulous Friday without the threat of cold wind and snow after like 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. So I'll have more on that in just a bit.
What's happening right now in space? Well, another landmark moment as far as exploration. This a live look at the NASA live stream. The agency preparing for the Odysseus lunar lander to actually land on the moon. It's expected to happen in some 15 minutes. Of course, this will mark the first time an American-made spacecraft has done it since the last Apollo mission back in 1972. If successful, it will also be the first landing on the south pole of the moon. The spot is where NASA wants to send the first Artemis astronauts and where they believe there could be ice and water. We'll have more on that throughout the hour. And also today at 4:30, our meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen is going to have more on how teams at CU helped the mission to the moon and what it could mean for future space exploration. Well, how about on Earth? Because this morning, many in our nation couldn't use their cell phones. Major carriers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, all were experiencing widespread outages.
And that gets our attention. AT&T reported just about 2 hours ago that all service was restored. Customers said they couldn't make or receive calls. In many cases, phones were stuck on that SOS mode. If you haven't heard of any sort of reason why this is happening, they really haven't, though the issue appears to be related to how cellular services hand off calls from one network to the next. So there's no indication the outage is a result of a cyber attack. I guess that's really good news, even though a lot of people couldn't get calls in or out. The FCC said that they will be opening up an investigation.
JetBlue says they're going to add themselves to the growing list of airlines that are hiking fees for checked baggage. The airline now charges $35 for the first bag and $50 for the second. They also say if the purchase is made less than 24 hours before departure, the fees will be $10 higher. The airline says they're raising the bag fees because of higher costs, things like wages, fuel, and operating expenses. Here in Colorado, Democratic lawmakers just unveiled sweeping changes to try to address air pollution with 3 new bills today.
Changes that would alter oil and gas production and how you drive. 9 News political reporter Marshall Zellinger is here to break down these bills and the controversial impact they might have on reducing greenhouse gases.
You wouldn't think that bettering the area's air quality would be a contentious issue, but it's about the industries that would be impacted that make it political. The proposals include changes to when oil and gas sites can be drilled, which does not have the oil and gas industry thrilled. One of the bills would extend what's known as ozone season by 2 months and then restrict oil and gas drilling in that time, which would be the start of May until the end of September. The legislation would also increase penalties for repeat polluters, which could be seen as cracking down on companies like Suncor. And one of the bills tells CDOT to present ideas next January to limit vehicle miles traveled, meaning come up with ideas to reduce your driving and in turn tailpipe emissions. Kim and Tom, we've seen over the last few years different bills that try to do some of these things individually. We've seen oil and gas restrictions. We've seen a gas tax to increase every year the amount that Colorado's state gas tax increases, which might also be like, hey, we're funding roads, but also hint, hint, if you don't like it, get off the roads and figure out other ways to get around. This is like a compilation of all that, which will be something that Democrats support, Republicans will not support, and with Democrats in charge at the state legislature, it seems like what will the final product be of something that is likely to pass?
Well, here in Colorado, we love our beautiful blue skies, our beautiful clear water, all those things that are environmentally sound and friendly. We also like our money, our wallets, and this is how much are we willing to pay or surrender for these bills.
I tried to get one of the bill sponsors, Democratic State Senator Kevin Priola, to tell me about the driving part and what are ideas he would like to see. Since he's not even going to be at the legislature after this year, he's more free to talk, and he didn't give me any. But I was part of a pilot project in 2016 where I volunteered to put a device on my car for CDOT so that they could figure out would it be worth charging people per mile and getting rid of the state gas tax altogether.
Ooh.
Nothing came of that. The study presented some data, but nothing ever came of that, and that was 7 years ago. So what are some other ideas? Like, I asked Peña Boulevard, they're talking about what to do with Peña Boulevard. Would the senator prefer to not see another lane built? Would that be a solution to solve air quality problems? And he wouldn't even say yes. He's like, whatever CDOT brings us is what I want to see. But like some of the ideas, no more extra lanes, toll lanes to both discourage driving and help people get by faster, transit to make you live and work near where everything together so you don't need a car, more bike lane, things like, I have no idea what the final solutions are going to be, but those are some of the things that have happened over the last few years that we could just opine will likely be the result of what we learn in January.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot
more
to it.
traffic. That's a popular discussion for people. All right.
Well, we appreciate you trying to keep tabs on it because it gets complicated. So thanks for shedding some light on it. Well, I know you'll follow it. Thanks, Marshall.